Maven Nation, we won't create a more balanced lifestyle by wishing for it. We must be intentional to demand it. I invite you to move away from burnout, to move away from delaying your self-care and feeling guilty when you rest. Let's embark on a journey where holistic care, confidence building, and leadership unite. Maven, you are CPR, capable, prepared, and ready. Now, let's create success with sameness. Welcome back to another episode of Success with Sameness. I am super, super excited today to have, a new friend, a new connection in Maven Nation, all the way from London. Kelechi Okafor we just met a couple months ago. Well, by the time you see this, we met 2023 in the fall in Baltimore at a podcasting conference. And she doesn't know this, but I was already full working on my season 2 schedule. And I intentionally left a spot open because I said to the team, I'm going to meet someone in Baltimore that I need to interview, that I want to have on this. So I was very intentional. As soon as I heard her speaking, I'm like, she's the one. She's the guest that I need to have. So listen, welcome to the show. Give us a little bit of introduction about yourself. Listen, I was scrolling all and digging through your Instagram, and I was like, sis is over in Britain doing her thing. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm an actor, director, as well as an author now, and I founded a pole dance studio in 2016 in London, Southeast London, and I do a lot of social commentary, across the news platforms and things like that. And I also host a podcast called Say Your Mind.
Say Your Mind, like that sums it up and says so much. I absolutely love it. So let's first start off with this wonderful pole dancing idea. And it's so interesting. Kelechi and I were talking before we started recording. Yes, she's a Black Briton, I'm a Black American. We're women, and the uniqueness and the barriers, struggles, the distance of the pond doesn't really change them much. It's so many similar things. So what encouraged you or gave you the idea of opening a pole dancing studio? And, I know some people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, clutching their pearls. And I'm like, yes, get it.
That's into it.
Because that's a power in a way, right? For a woman to be able to do that and be confident in it, body-wise, mentally, all of the things. For those that's not your thing, don't do that thing, but don't hate on someone else that's doing a great thing. So what made you start that, and what does that do for the students or clients you're working with?
I started Kelechi Okafor Pole Dance Studio because of Black American women. Actually, they were, part of that sort of genesis. Why? Because I, focused on acting most of my life. Oh, I'm going to be an actress. I'm going to be a famous actress one day. That's what I'm going to do. And then with the nature of misogynoir, general anti-blackness, the way it works, and Britain at that point being very limited in terms of acting opportunities, hence a lot of Black British actors going over to the US. I was still in Britain and I was working at a call center, waiting for my big break. I'd go to an audition after audition. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. What else do I enjoy outside of, acting? Well, fitness. I was a sports captain in high school. I was also head of sports, sports captain again, while I was an air cadet. So there were so many different instances where I was just like, well, sports is my other thing. So I decided to train to become a personal trainer. So while I was doing the course, I continued working at the call center, and I started, gaining extra knowledge in that vein. And once I got my personal training business going, I started thinking, okay, what else can I do for myself? Because I was, weightlifting, I've been going to the gym, I've been doing athletics for years. So what else can I do? And I decided to try a pole dance class,
Okay.
especially because I remember when I was living in Atlanta briefly, I went to some clubs and I thought, while everyone else was just like, oh my God, these women are so sexy. Oh my God. Yes, they are and
Right.
were. But I was fascinated by the strength that it required because I
Yes.
know that strength. Like I've pulled myself up a rope before. So I'm like, why? They are going up and down that pole. The core must be
Yes.
tremendous. So, I kept that at the back of my mind. So when I was in London, I thought, okay, I'm going to go and try a class. And within 6 weeks, I'd kind of zipped through the level I was at. I was zipping through another level. And then they said to me, oh, do you want to teach? And so I started teaching for that studio, and they also asked me at that point, do you know how to twerk? I thought that's interesting. Do you ask every teacher if they know how
Right.
to twerk? If they know how to twerk, or is it because I'm black? So I said, well, I do this, and I showed them what I do, and they said, oh yeah, teach that. And the class became so wildly popular, we had to add another class to the timetable. So I thought, why don't I take this class across the UK? I reached
Okay.
out to a studio in Manchester, which is the north of England, reached
Okay.
out to them and I said, oh, I would love to bring my twerk class to you because I noticed that on their website they'd written that Miley Cyrus was one of the originators of twerk. And I thought, see, now you are being inaccurate. So you probably need some education. You need somebody to come through and kind of like
Absolutely.
shake things up, shake things up a bit, season things up a bit. So I reached out and I said, I'd love to come through and teach this workshop. And the white studio owner, she reached back out and she said, thanks for your message. I don't enjoy your style of twerk. When me and my girls twerk, we put our knee pads on and throw down. So I went and looked at the video just to see what they were throwing down. And my God, it was a catastrophe. Nothing was thrown, nor was anything picked. It died. The music was over here. Their moves were over there. It was shambolic.
Oh my gosh.
And so I posted the videos side by side, a video of my class and a video of her
Mm.
class online. And I also posted a screenshot of what she sent me, and it went viral. It went everywhere.
You were like, I am not afraid of smoke.
I said, I'm just trying to understand because I
Right.
sent her this video and she said, I don't enjoy your da 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 da. So let's just look at what she is doing. And yeah, it went viral.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
many Black American women were like, why are you, even looking to work at somebody else's studio? Open your own studio, do your
Ah,
own thing. And, the American women were very, very adamant. And they were like, you can start a crowdfund, you can do this. And at the time, I was saving for a wedding. Instead of going ahead with the wedding, use the money instead, plus crowdfunding to then open this small space. So that happened like, let's say January 2016. By
okay.
August 2016, I'd opened my first studio. And I think that we talk about anger as if it's a destructive force.
Right.
Anger, based on how you use it, can be such a liberating and constructive energy because I was angry about her response. I
Yes.
took that anger and I got to work. And between January and August, I'd opened my first space. And that's how I've kind of been here ever since. After a year, I couldn't contain the classes in that studio, so I closed it and opened another one in 2017 in southeast London in Peckham. The first one was in East London. um Opened this one that had 2 rooms instead of 1, and I've been there ever since. And it's now, what, 2023.
Yes.
I've been doing that.
Wow. Listen, I love the whole story. And I sometimes we just have to show people this
Yeah.
okay. This is what it is. So, and you mentioned the American women. Were these women there in London?
No, 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 they were just on the
Okay.
internet.
This is just followers and supporters.
Yeah, just on
Excellent.
the internet, and they just looked at it and they said no. And I think that it was important to mention about it being Black American women because there was an enterprising spirit there that
Yes.
wasn't necessarily there with the Black British women at the time. That's not to say that Black British women aren't enterprising. It's just
Yeah.
the culture that we have to navigate means that we would have been furious that that woman did that to me. We would have had a whole discussion about it, and
Right.
then done. That's it,
That's the end.
done. But then
Okay.
since then, I've noticed a marked sort of um, improvement in how many businesses we now have that are, confidently Black woman owned. We have
Yeah.
so many wonderful businesses popping up now. And I love that because we are seeing that we have to do for ourselves if
Yeah.
we want to continue.
I love that. Listen, that whole story is simply inspiring, right? You said it best. You took a moment of anger and used it to change, to do something you wanted to do. Again, I'm always talking about the power of community. Your social media community, go for it. Get it done. Do it yourself, giving you the ideas and the support. And here you are,
Yeah.
years later, still empowering women through pole dancing classes. You're right. Listen, I work with a personal trainer and I work out consistently, but listen, that pole, listen, you
It's
better have it together.
it is really something. And there is a power in the erotic. Audre Lorde talks about it, the power of the erotic. Sometimes we, because of the way that a patriarchal society operates, we conflate the erotic with pornographic.
Yes,
And they're not the same thing.
correct.
We all create from an erotic space, whether we call it that or not.
Right.
And so that energy is our driving force, and we do ourselves a disservice when we kind of listen to the ways in which, especially as Black women, we've been hypersexualized. So we don't want to engage with the erotic, especially not in an overt way, in a overtly sensual way. But that in and of itself is our power. If we look historically, the ways in which that we've been depicted, the ways that when we think about Sarah Bartman or Sartija Bartman, Venus Hottentot, we think about Josephine Baker, we think about
Yeah.
Nina Simone, we think about all of these women, and the way that they were depicted
Right.
to us as oversexed, like all of these
Hmm.
things. And so we don't want to be that. We want to be respectful. And that means that we then shut off that sacral energy, that driving force that allows us to create in a way that means that we become immortal, right, from that energy. And so with the twerk classes that I was teaching as well as pole dance, I'm asking for us, women specifically, but anybody of any gender expression, to come back to source, to come back to that power, to the power of the erotic, using it to build physical strength. Because it's no joke to get up that pole and swing yourself around, but at the
Right.
same time, building up the sensual strength that I can transmute this energy any which way I desire. Like, you become an alchemist.
I love that. Listen, so well said. I have never heard sexuality and erotica and power explained so well together. But it totally makes sense. So let's switch gears for a little bit. You recently came out with a book, Edge of Here.
Yeah.
Then I was on your Instagram and saw Strong Like Me. I was like, wait, what is going on here? So tell us about the two books. I know Strong Like Me is a children's book.
Yes.
So cute, beautiful cover. But Edge of Here, is that more fantasy?
Yeah, so that's so Edge of Here is speculative fiction, is what I'd call it, mixed with love, and the protagonists are all, Black women. So I wanted to write it because I love technology. I use technology a lot, and I think that we are science fiction. Black women, that's how it is, really. We have been imagined from consciousness, and we are here. And every time we're blowing people's minds. If you think about Henrietta Lacks and the
Right.
way that her cells were used over and over and over again, without her family's consent, without her consent, but the
Absolutely.
fact that her cells could do that, I'm just like, it's been clear from the beginning of time that there is something so special, so magical about what we are and who we are. And yet, the vilification that we see in mainstream media opposes this reality that we know. We have therefore been made science fiction. So I wanted
Right.
to explore that further, where my protagonists, some of them have special powers, some of them are just interacting with technology. So it's kind of like Black Mirror, but Black women and better.
I love that. I love that. So we'll be dropping the links to that book, and then tell us a little bit about Strong Like Me.
Strong Like Me, I love it. It's a picture book for children from 0 to 6, but I say that it's for everybody. It's for everybody's inner child. So we meet Kamara. Kamara is the little girl who has a lot of strength. She's super fast. She can do all of these things. She's just very physically capable. But her friends around her in her class don't like that she's so strong, because first of all, girls aren't meant to be strong, and then she's just doing all of these other things. So it's the journey that Kamara goes on to love her own strength regardless of what anyone has to say about it, because statistically speaking, around 15 years old, I know definitely in the UK, young girls drop out of sports. And they
Hmm.
drop out of sports because it becomes this whole thing of like, oh, but you're a girl, you're not meant to be doing sports. You're a girl, don't be strong because you're going to look like a man. And all of these things are said to kind of deter girls, deter women from any sort of physical strength. But then if we then look at the expression of gendered violence, I
Yeah.
feel like if women were stronger, we would have
Right.
some, we would be able to kind of fight back in certain regards.
Right.
It doesn't solve everything, but it is something. And
Yeah.
so when I think about women like Serena Williams and how she's depicted as an ape sometimes,
Yeah.
and people made fun of her because of her physique. And I had similar happen to me when I was younger, because I was doing athletics and various sports when I was growing up. I remember friends would say to me, "Oh yeah, you're so muscular, you're so athletic, you can't be
Right.
more muscular than your boyfriend," and things like that. That would put me off enjoying my body and the things that it's able to do. If 37-year-old me now could do what like 16-year-old me was able to do, I would be laughing. I
Right.
would be laughing. But you push it down because of what other people are saying to you. So Strong Like Me is that reminder, not just to us as adults, but to the little children growing up, that there's nothing wrong with having the strength that you have, especially little black girls. There's nothing wrong with being like strong, fast, all of these things. Own it, own it,
Right.
celebrate it, because my God, one day you'll be glad that you did.
Yeah. I love that. And here's the current, consistent current under all of the things you've talked about you're doing is lifting others up, getting people to believe their power, their strength.
Yes,
Absolutely love that. So this next shift we're gonna take is your podcast, Say Your Mind.
yes,
Which when we first started talking, when you were talking on the stage in Baltimore, that's a little bit of what you were talking about. And I find it again incredibly strong, that after your runs, you have your phone out, you're sharing the thoughts of the day or whatever's happened on the news or the missing black person that has, been body has been discovered, and you're sharing that, and you're not using your voice just for, hey, look at me. It's to bring enlightenment, to bring light, and really shining light on some things that people would prefer, like, let's just let this all go away. So what did your podcast, Say Your Mind, start out with that in mind? Like, this is the goal, I'm going to be talking about these things. And how have you seen that grow? And I would imagine really giving power to other people to also use their voice. I think in one of your videos I saw you say that other people at the end of their walk or their run was also sharing some message at the end of that.
yeah, yeah. I'm loving that. I'm seeing that now, because I feel like for me, I always talk about that running for me is a moving prayer.
Oh, I
It's
love that.
my time of connecting with spirit, thanking God for my lungs, thanking God for my heart. Like sometimes those runs feel brutal, gosh, but
Yes.
just doing it and being thankful the whole way through, I know that it centers me, and then it gives me this clarity of mind. And then suddenly something that I've been really grappling with, trying to find the words for, suddenly all of the words that they make themselves known. So I really really appreciated that. And ultimately, I started Say Your Mind because initially it was about me not being erased. I don't want to be erased,
Okay.
that I ever existed. I was here. Like, this is why I'm doing this. Why? Because I remember writing a thread about Muhammad Ali, years ago when he passed away. And I could, because I noticed that the media outlets kept saying things like, oh, Muhammad Ali, he transcended race. He transcended race. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's like
Right.
you're almost saying that he's now being bestowed the biggest honor that a Black person can get, which is to transcend race.
Right.
And there was something very problematic about that, because we know that we now see many people trying to transcend race. So I'm not like the other Black people. Look at me, because I don't do that. And then they're met with the stark kind of realization that
You can't.
you cannot
Yeah.
transcend race. And if they give you that title, it's because you are no longer a threat, because
Right.
you're dead, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and you see that in the way that we see the ways in which people conflate and misconstrue and misuse the words of Martin Luther King Jr. They rarely try that with Malcolm X. They
Right.
rarely try that with Malcolm X, because
Right.
it was very clear that don't,
Yes.
you know? And
Yeah.
so it was interesting why they wanted to then try it with Muhammad Ali, but it's because as he grew older, maybe that fighting spirit, those very acerbic words that were very clear on his stance, you know, they couldn't they could play with him in his later life, because they felt
Right.
that they'd almost softened him up and they pacified him. And so I wrote this long thread about that, and how it even interlinks with when Kanye has shared some frustrations online in the past, thinking that by marrying somebody like Kim Kardashian, by doing this, by doing that, that he would, you know, one day be able to break through this ceiling,
Yeah.
and then he'd be somewhere else. And he was frustrated when he realized that he could not. And so wrote this thread. I went back to go and look for my thread one day, and it was no longer there. Don't know what happened to it. It was just no longer there. And I thought, okay, I've said to people that I'm not going to start a podcast because I don't have time for it. But in that moment, I knew I had to. So my things couldn't just disappear because they're on somebody else's platform. So that's what
Gotcha.
led to me starting the podcast. But then once I started it, there were so many stories I wanted to talk about. There were so many things that I wanted to kind of shine a light on that was happening all around the world. And then the podcast took on a life of its own. It no longer became about me. It became about
Okay.
us.
Okay. I love that. And that strong voice, oftentimes, I think when the person that has, I call it the capacity to be the strong voice, then others can come and say, well, here's my story also.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
gives other people a place, a safe place to come and share their story, which is, the thought that I share with people, that everyone is not waiting for Maven Myra. Someone's waiting for you.
Mm.
If you're not doing the thing you're assigned to do, who else are you holding up? If you were not using Say Your Mind as a platform to share stories, how many other people's stories would not be out into the world?
Absolutely. That is a word. Gosh, because I've spoken about it previously on the podcast as well, that a blessing isn't a blessing unless you're blessing somebody else, right? And somebody is, as you say, waiting for us right now to give ourselves the permission to speak our truth to power, to be exactly who we were destined to be. And by doing that, they see it and they go, oh, it's possible for me too. And not even just that they see it, but for instance, you're working on a script. Oh, I can't be the one to write it. I don't have the talent. But by you not writing that script, there's an actress or actor somewhere that cannot have their moment, that the moment that they emerge into the public consciousness, because your script has to happen before their thing can happen. Our destinies are interlinked for a reason. Like,
Yeah,
God didn't flop on that part. It was made so if we do not live out our destinies, we hold up other people's destinies. So if we are truly thinking about being of service, and being of service not just to ourselves but to the world, then it's important for us to boldly, courageously live in our truth, because somebody else's life depends on it.
I love that. And listen, no truer words have been said that we are all connected.
Mm,
I'm in Houston, Texas. You're in London. We are still connected. We talked about looking at doing other things together,
yes.
the destinies. And I love the way you place that. Like, that person, that actress can't get their time if the person that needs to write the script is so worried that it's not perfect, and that, well, what if they reject it? All of the things listen, men and women, but my audience is definitely predominantly women.
Mm,
Do the thing you're assigned to do. Do it
yes.
scared, do it, and we're not looking at perfection.
No.
Deliver excellence. Excellence is doing the best you have with what you have right where you are.
Yeah.
Do that part. If we take the steps, then the journey is going to bring us the other people we need to make the
Absolutely.
improvements. Like if we, it's just moving past fear to take that first step. And your journey, you wrote the post about Muhammad Ali and then that platform deleted it. I'm going to start a podcast.
Mm,
uh the the decline of proper twerking classes. Nope.
yeah.
I'm opening a studio. Right. I love that you're sharing with us how someone else's no means, okay, that's a no for you. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that's a no for me. And to keep going, because these different things you've done, the pole dancing studio, the podcast, have led and touched so many other people in your lifetime that if you had not done it, what would those people be? Where would they be?
Where would they be? Where would they be? And realizing how much people, like so many people, stop me in the street on a daily basis, saying how much the podcast means to them, how much my videos on social media mean to them, how much my, just my general posts across social media through the years, how much it means to them. And I never thought that this was what I was meant to do.
Right.
If you asked me to write out my plan, my destiny, it was like, yeah, feeling cute, gonna be a famous actress, thanks so much, done. But those skills are transferable. Those same skills, you act on stage, that means you can do public
Yeah.
speaking. And so that public speaking aspect of it is what I'm then using, the quick wit, the humor, the memory.
Yes.
Because with scripts, you have to remember things, you have to memorize. So that means I memorize a lot of dates, facts before going on the news to say certain things. Um, Acting requires you sometimes to improvise. So
Right.
sometimes you go on the news to go and talk about something. They put someone wayward as your opposition to, debate with you. You have to know how to pivot. You have to know how to quickly, pick up what they're trying to throw down, and you keep it moving because you have to arrive at your point, right? So looking at how what I thought I was going to do, I was looking at the seed of the thing, not knowing
Okay.
what was programmed into the seed and what that seed would then go on to be, right? I'm just seeing a seed. It goes into the soil, done. That's me done. Not thinking about what that, what tree that is growing on, growing to then, be. And ultimately, I'm learning all of the time because I often forget that rejection is redirection. It's
Yeah.
redirecting us back to self. It's redirecting us back to purpose. It's redirecting us back to source. And oftentimes I would forget that. I still forget that now. Something, I don't book a job and I'm like, why? And I'm going off, I'm fuming. But then I have that moment of stillness and I think, but I have not been failed yet.
Yeah.
Every point, I look at what happens, I go and do the next thing and the
Yeah.
next thing. And then what I have is much better than what I thought I should have.
Yeah. I love that. That is a perfect wrap to say the Maven quote of, there's a quote I use that says, go bam, which stands for bust a move. Do your thing.
Yep.
Again, you're going to do it with flaws. You're going to do it imperfectly. Sometimes you're going to have to redo it. There's a U-turn, a roundabout, all of the things. There is nothing any of us that people look at, that follow, that say you're the successful one. There's nothing we produce, created, that has been perfect, that
Mm,
has been without some pain, some growth, uncomfortableness, all of the things. But that is the power of within us
mm,
to keep going and to never let the outside voices say you're not capable, you
yeah.
can't do it. Because we need more Kelechis, we need
Mm,
more Myras in the world.
yeah.
And ladies, if that's you, we're
Yeah.
waiting for you. Someone's waiting for what you have. Someone's waiting for you to write the book, to write the script, to do the talk, to send the email, to whatever it is. So when you see this video, wherever you are in your journey, use it as encouragement to say, what the seed I have is not just for me. This
Mm,
is this is something being planted to grow into something much bigger, and someone's waiting for the gift that I have. And listen, when my friend told me that 10 years ago at this point, it felt like the biggest weight ever. And I looked at her like, why would you say that? She just said, imagine if you're not doing what you're doing, how many women you're holding up. And I wanted to fold inward, like, and now it's my reminder when I'm tired, when I'm frustrated, when I get the no, that yes, I can rest, I can regather, but I absolutely cannot quit because someone's waiting for me to do what I'm supposed to do so they can go do what they're supposed to do. So listen, grace to you all the way in London to keep doing the amazing things you're doing. If I'm in London, we're definitely going to connect in person. If
Yes.
you're in Houston, we'll need to connect. Have you been to Houston?
No, but one of my best friends from high school, she lives in Katy now, so I
Girl,
absolutely have to come
I
through.
live about 10 minutes from Katy. There it is. Well, you're gonna have to come see the best friend in Katy. We will
Yes,
all have to connect because literally we're like literally in Northwest Houston, and that's 10 minutes or so from Katy.
perfect,
Yes,
perfect.
love it. Listen, thank you so much for joining Maven Nation today and sharing your beautiful insight. Again, I just love the undertone of all that you're doing, of
Yeah.
empowering others and letting them see their light and using their voice to also be leaders. So, Maven Nation, until next time, keep doing your BAM thing. Maven, thank you for tuning in. To accelerate your journey of success with sameness, download our free video series at myrashaw.com/3moves. That's the number 3 moves. It's 3 easy videos offering practical steps for your growth. Make sure to stay connected by joining our email list and leave us a review and a 5-star rating if you feel it's worthy over on Apple Podcasts. You'll find all of these links in the show notes. Again, thank you for listening, Maven, and be sure and join us for the next episode where we will continue our journey of creating success with sameness.